Hey, everybody, and welcome to this first episode of Thoughtium's Hot Takes. This is where we bring you provocative topics that we should be talking about both in and outside of work, but we're not. And this is a new series that we're launching. We'll do this about once a month. We're bringing you business topics and topics on life that are maybe often thought about, but maybe not talked about. So I am here with my co-host, Aishani Gupta, senior consultant here at Thoughtium, and we are thrilled to be kicking off this new series. Aishani, how are you today?
Doing great as always.
Are you ready for the hot seat?
I am.
Okay. So today's hot topics, we're going to start with, what are we drinking today, Aishani?
I know you're drinking a pumpkin spice latte.
We are, yes, I am drinking a pumpkin spice latte, and you?
I had Nora sneak me in a chai because that's how much I love PSLs.
Okay. Which leads us to our first hot take. Pumpkin spice everything. We see it everywhere around the turn of September to October. First of all, cheers to your chai and my pumpkin spice latte. Pumpkin spice everything. What's your hot take?
For me, pumpkin and pumpkin spice belongs in a pie and not my lattes or drinks.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. We see this all over the place, right? As we turn into October, everything becomes pumpkin spice.
Yep.
Starbucks is full of it, etc. My hot take on pumpkin spice as well, it's a bit overrated. It is absolutely everywhere. And the other thing I'll say is, as much as I'm not a latte drinker, you can go to one Starbucks and get a PSL and it'll taste completely different than the other Starbucks down the street. So I think there's a huge variance on good tasting pumpkin spice. I'm with you. Keep it in the pies.
I think that's what ruined it for me. My first PSL in the US it was awful. I threw it out after 2 sips.
Yes. Yeah. And you've come from India, where what is pumpkin spice place in India? Does it have a place?
No.
Okay.
It's the most hilarious things because when we have like family come over and they look at like pumpkin, it's like the most should I say, like basic home vegetable.
Yeah.
So it's funny for them to see it being revered so much, literally.
Yeah. And here it's like the hero of the fall, right?
It's fascinating.
I mean, we put faces on pumpkins. We put them in our drinks. They're absolutely everywhere. So I think we both share a hot take that, pumpkin spice everything probably needs to be left as a basic vegetable and in our pie. So
agreed.
Cheers to that hot take.
That.
Yes. So as we shift from, outside of the walls of the workplace to in the workplace, we also wanted to introduce a hot take about the way that we as leaders should be thinking about our teams and our team's identity within organizations. So Aishani, what's your hot take for today?
Very often, like identity and branding is left to like a company, but we don't realize like teams within large organizations, we're all unique and we need to be talking about that. We need to be able to communicate that. And so often, clients we work with, they're so lost in terms of what do we do. And I think that's where like having that catchy, clear mission and vision statement clearly defines who we are and what we do in an organization. We often say this, that think about if you were removed from this organization today, if your team ceased to exist, what's the gap that would remain? And very often people don't know that because they've not actually bothered to sit down and think about who are we.
So your hot take is that every team within organization should have their own brand identity.
100%.
Which is something we're not talking about often. So many times as part of a team, we roll up to the brand identity, the ethos of the larger organization, which is important. But tell us more about what that looks like to develop a unique brand identity for your team.
It begins with having a very clear mission and vision statement, having a succinct under 10 word mission and vision statement.
Under 10.
Under 10.
That's a hot take.
I think a vision statement should be like under 5. Ideally.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing is, if you're walking down a hallway and if you need to pull out a presentation to read your mission and vision statement, you probably need a new one.
It's interesting. We've done a lot of research on hot mission and vision statements. Mm-hmm. We've seen some really good ones. They've all been under 10 words.
Exactly.
And when we work with clients, we challenge them to, keep succinct, keep brief, and be a little provocative. So tell us like what's one or two of your favorite vision statements that you've seen out there.
I love this. I'll give you one of my favorites that a lot of people probably know about. The first one is belong anywhere.
Ooh,
You know who that is?
I do. Yes.
That's Airbnb.
Yep.
And I think
It's one of our favorites.
it's one of the best vision statements because it's provocative, it is super short, and it tells you exactly where they're headed, what they want you to feel, who they want to be, you to be, really. The other one of my favorites is, which has probably become like a benchmark for us, was one of our clients in this commercial team in the healthcare space. And their vision statement is to become a luminary in healthcare systems. It's so vivid, it is so visual, and all of their identity, their awards, their how they communicate, their brand personality, it's all rooted in this word luminary. And that's what they're like, literally, they're aspiring to be luminaries every day. And I love that.
You know, I can imagine a team
Yeah.
within a large organization having this succinct, a luminary in healthcare systems that is so direct. It's also so illustrative. It shows exactly what they're trying to do to kind of shine light on, their ultimate customers. There's so much you can do with that, right? From a messaging perspective, from a brand recall perspective.
Yep.
That's what they become known for within these organizations. And of course, it supports the larger mission and vision of the organization, but it helps them become a little bit of an anomaly within the organization.
Yeah.
And that's a hot take.
And I'll tell you the best part. It's like when you have this really provocative, vivid vision, it's almost like you're moving towards it. You see the teams really come together because there's that sense of belonging.
Sure.
And it's rooted in this really, really strong identity.
Yeah.
Which is why I think every team needs a brand identity.
I love that. So the hot take here is that every team should have a brand identity. One of the first things that you can do is create that colorful and clear vision statement.
Yes.
What are some other things that teams can do to really establish a brand identity within large organizations?
I think your identity and your strategy is only as good as you're able to communicate it.
Love that.
So really having...
That's a hot take.
Yes. And that's what we help a lot of our clients do, right? That is, once you have this amazing, compelling mission and vision statement, you have your clear goals and your ways of working, everything that brings your team together, and you know who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do. It comes down to, how do you get others to understand who you are and what you do? And that is where having strategy on a page, is what we call it, is extremely important. Being able to use your vision statement in an opening conversation with the senior vice president of your organization is important. Having branded slides templates, having your workspace kind of show that personality, because your brand identity needs to translate into a shared language, and also your physical personality of your team, which is a lot through the space.
I love that. As you said, your brand is only as good as the way you can communicate it. So once you have that unique identity and you've built some color and clarity around it, you start to pull it through everything that you do. And getting your team involved in building reps on how to speak to it in a hallway to a senior vice president, working it into your workspace, having a little bit of that visual recall. What does a luminary in healthcare systems look like? Well, it's very clear, right? We want to light the way, and that comes through in the brand identity and the way that you communicate it. You also touched on the workspace piece. We've worked with a couple of clients on kind of their physical space. What does that look like?
It's so many things, right? Like it's right from the colors of your walls, because each of your, if you have like the branded strategic visual, a one page that holds your mission and vision, you have this personality. A lot of it is rooted in your colors. It's rooted in maybe some of your, you might have an element that anchors your entire brand, right? And that shows up in your signage, in your wall colors, in how you open a meeting. If you're a training team, right? How do you kind of open up your training with your learners? Your cue cards.
There's a lot of physical elements that can be pulled through to support this. So the hot take here is that every team should have a brand identity. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but let's start with a very clear mission and vision. Let's then support it with clear communications that do not need to be read off of a cue card. And let's pull it through every level of the organization in our everyday ways of working.
Exactly.
I think that's a tremendous hot take. That married with our, mutual, I guess, misunderstanding of pumpkin spice lattes and pumpkin spice. here we are at the beginning of the fall. The hot take is pumpkin spice everything's a little overrated. Your team as a brand identity, I would say, is underrated.
Is
right?
extremely
underrated.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk to us about either of these things, particularly how you build a brand identity for your team and pull it through in really effective ways, please reach out to us. We love to start this conversation. We'd love to bring this hot take to you and your team. You can find us at Thoughtium.com. This episode at Thoughtium.com/live. You can also reach out to Aishani or I directly. I'm Anthony at Thoughtium.com and Aishani at
signing off.
Thoughtium.com. Yes.
Thank
Hot
you.
takes number 1 in the books. We'll do this about once a month. What do you think, Aishani?
I think that's fantastic. Talk about topics no one's talking about.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.